Hello again, everybody. My name is Laura Brown. Welcome back. I'm going to be sharing with you today about HTE's e-Power. This is an amazing piece of equipment, and I love it so much because every night it shrinks my waistline by 2 to 3 inches. It has tightened my skin, it has removed fine lines, and it's helped me to look younger. e-Power is another one of HTE's amazing products that make it easy to jump out of bed in the morning. When I go to sleep with the e-Power, if I'm in bed by 9 o'clock, I can be up by 3 with no problems. So what is the e-Power? Well, have you ever had a night of tossing and turning, or maybe you just can't get comfortable? Maybe you feel like you can't shut your mind down, that your mind just keeps on going. Well, e-Power is an incredible tool that gives us the energy we need to rest. Yes, I just said energy for rest. And e-Power creates more ATP, and this is the fuel that energizes our cells to revitalize and balance our bodies. I talked in the previous advanced ERE training about how our bodies are so amazingly electrical. The e-Power helps to increase our electrical potential. Well, first of all, what is electrical potential, and why do we want to increase it? Each of our cells have roughly 30 to 40 millivoltages, but we have some 75 trillion cells in our bodies, so that is a huge amount of electrical potential. Now, why do we want to increase our electrical potential? Because our electrical potential in the human body decreases with age, and that leads to illness. We've all seen the emergency room types of drama TV shows in which the doctors have the paddles out and they're trying to, as we have assumed, to restart the patient's heart. Well, yes, but it doesn't restart the heart the way we think. Actually, what they are doing is they're delivering about 10,000 volts to every cell of the body to restart it. I want you to think of your body as a battery. Batteries get drained, don't they? Well, the e-Power is a way to slowly and safely recharge every cell of your body. Now, these pictures here are a great illustration of what happens as we age. Have you ever noticed how children have a ton of energy? Well, they have anywhere from 70 to 90 millivolts. When we age or as we get sick, even just being run down, we have lower than 60 millivolts, and actually it's probably closer to 30. When our cells die, there are 0 millivolts, but in full-blown illness and disease, such as cancer, there are less than 15 millivolts. So in summary, the e-Power balances the inside and the outside of our cells with negative ions so that healing, water, oxygen, and nutrition can get in, and so that harmful waste like carbon dioxide and other toxins can get out. Okay, so now we need to understand what negative ions are, because it almost sounds bad, doesn't it? I mean, how can something negative be good, right? So we're going to go back and visit those science classes again. Okay, ions are atoms or molecules that have a different number of electrons than protons, either more or less. So in an atom you have a nucleus, and on the inside that contains protons and neutrons. Electrons are found on the outside edge of atoms, and they are held there by an energy field, if you will. Well, when there are a different number of protons than electrons, that atom or molecule is going to have an electric charge. A cation, or a positively charged ion, as you can see on the left here, that's an ion that has more protons than electrons. Cations, or positive ions, are the bad guys. Now, anions, or a negatively charged ion, as you can see in the picture on the right, they have more electrons than protons. Anions, or negative ions, are the good guys. Alright, well, why are positive ions bad? Positive ions are not good for our health. Here are some reasons why. First of all, inside the body, positive ions turn into free radicals, and free radicals damage healthy cells. Positive ions make our blood more acidic, and you know from my Chi Machine training the horrible consequences of having an acidic body. Positive ions can trigger an increase in lactic acid, which can contribute to pain and illness. They can cause endocrine and immune system and autonomic nervous systems to become out of balance, and they can decrease the circulation of blood and lymph. And again, you know from my previous trainings the value of increasing circulation of blood and lymph. You know the devastating illnesses and symptoms that occur when blood and lymph circulation slow down. The role of positive ions in the body can be summarized with causing two main outcomes. First of all, premature aging, and second of all, illness. So which outcome do you want for yourself? How about neither? Well, where are these positive ions coming from? How are they created? They are created from either natural forces, like the decay of radioactive materials and forest fires, or they are created by man-made forces. Just look at this list. Exhaust fumes, factory smoke, river pollution and acid rain, pollutants from burning of waste materials, pesticides and food additives. Folks, if you're not eating organic food and if you're eating a lot of boxed processed foods, you're getting pesticides and you're getting a ton of additives, and that is creating a lot of positive ions in your body. And we just talked about how that leads to free radicals in your body, and that can create a lot of damage. Well, what about formaldehyde? Did you know that diet sugars, particularly aspartame, turns to formaldehyde in your body? And then there's things like electromagnetic fields, or EMFs. That happens through x-rays, electrical appliance, computers, cell phones, fluorescent lighting, power lines, etc., all of that. Negative ions, on the other hand, are naturally generated by evaporating water, like forests, hot springs, and waterfalls. You know, there is a reason that when you're in these environments, they are so therapeutic. At the beginning of the 20th century, there were more negative ions, or the good guys, in our atmosphere at approximately 1.2 negative ions for every positive ion. Today, however, it has been reversed. There are unfortunately more positive ions, or the bad guys, in our atmosphere at about 1.2 positive ions for every negative ion. Things like air and water pollution, electromagnetic fields, etc. are in large part responsible for this shift, or this reversal of balance. Now, the feeling of positive or negative ions is something that we have all experienced. You can tell when this is happening, even just in the atmosphere. Recall what the air feels like before a storm hits. There are way more positive ions in the air, about 5,000 per cubic centimeter. But during and right after a storm, it changes, and you can feel that change. You know what it's like to walk outside in the grass right after a storm. It's therapeutic. So during or right after a storm, negative ions increase to about 1,000 per cubic centimeter, but the positive ions decrease to less than 500 per centimeter cubed. So think about, again, how good and refreshing it feels to be near a waterfall. That's because there is a significantly higher number of negative ions. Now compare that to your office. Do you work in an office with a lot of computers? Do you feel yourself getting tired, headachy, depressed, or even irritable when you've been working on the computer? Well, there's less than 70 negative ions, if any at all, in those environments that are flooded with anywhere from 1,400 plus positive ions. I'm going to be showing you a chart to give you an idea of the negative versus positive ion ratios per various environments. Maybe now you can start to see why you have a tendency to get thirsty or tired or irritable when you go shopping. It's not just the idea of shopping. I mean, look at the shopping arcade. Look at the comparison of negative ions to positive ions. The positive ions far outweigh the negative ions. So for some people, the idea of shopping can make them irritable, and I'm kind of joking around here a little bit. But there is something going on at a biophysiological level. There is a reason we feel good when we visit forests, hot springs, and waterfalls. I mean, look at the comparison. The number of negative ions, or the good guys, far outweighs the positive ions, or the bad guys, by ginormous proportions. We're going to be taking a look at the comparison of effects both negative and positive ions have on our bodies. I'm going to move through this quickly, but I want you to see the value of increasing your electrical potential with the E-power, because if you don't, you could be doing everything right for your health, but still be a victim to the effects of positive ions. Negative ions cause your blood vessels to dilate, which increases circulation. But positive ions decrease or inhibit proper circulation because they cause blood vessels to constrict. Negative ions help to stabilize blood pressure, and they help to alkalize our blood or pH balance it. I talked about how the E-power gives you the energy you need for rest. Well, negative ions are energy, and in their presence, they trigger the whole body to become calm and to relax, thus leading to deep sleep. It doesn't matter how wired, anxious, or not tired I am when I go to bed. With the E-power, I can actually feel my entire body relax, and I sleep soundly and solidly. Compare that to positive ions, which trigger stress and insomnia. Now there's your sleepless night, and even depression. Negative ions increase your cell's ability to absorb and use nutrition. Therefore, it promotes stronger bones and even quick healing of bones. I have a friend who, she's in her 60s, and she broke her foot. It was just right before Thanksgiving a few years back, and she called me and said, "Laura, what piece of equipment should I use?" And I said, "Definitely use your E-power." And she ended up using her E-power very faithfully, but she was able to walk on her foot without any problems 3 weeks before her doctor said she would even be able to put weight on her foot. Thank you, E-power. The E-power helps to balance hormones, but positive ions can throw your hormones way out of whack. Negative ions help to improve oxygen intake by as much as 30%, and negative ions can help to reduce or even eliminate bowel and bladder incontinence because they help to strengthen those muscles. E-power improves breathing. One of the first times that I started using the E-power consistently, I think I'd been using it even just a couple of days, and when I would wake up in the morning, I would cough, and I'd be coughing up all this stuff, and it was almost like I was coughing up stuff like you would if you were sick, but I wasn't sick. And then I started to notice that, oh my goodness, I've never been able to breathe like that before. I had no idea breathing was supposed to feel so good and deep and clean. It was absolutely phenomenal. Negative ions also help to slow down a rapid pulse rate. They cause the capillary vessels to expand, so more oxygen-rich blood can circulate, and it creates a wonderful normalizing effect on blood pressure. Do any of you have diabetes or blood sugar issues? The presence of negative ions can help to lower high blood sugar. Negative ions support proper levels of good bacteria, whereas positive ions actually attract bad bacteria. Negative ions stimulate enzyme activity, which are the building blocks for great health. They also increase ATP levels in the mitochondria in the cells, which increases cellular energy and speeds up metabolism. Negative ions increase about 2,000 liver functions, but positive ions decrease liver functions. Also, negative ions increase white blood cells, so they are a powerhouse in creating a strong immune system. I told you my E-power helped to tighten my skin, reduce wrinkles, and make me look younger. I hadn't been using the E-power, I'd say it was a week or less, and I had customers coming in, customers that were repeat customers and new customers, and they were asking me, "Laura, what are you doing to your skin?" And it took me a while to figure out, what is going on here, but then I realized I had been sleeping with the E-power, and people were wanting to know what I was doing differently because according to them, I had people say that my skin looked so great. Well, one reason that that's happening is because negative ions increase collagen, whereas positive ions create free radicals, which damages skin and promotes premature aging. Negative ions help to break up and eliminate fat stores or cellulite. They improve digestion, which in and of itself can help to eliminate fatigue. Negative ions help to balance the autonomic nervous system, which helps to calm and relax the nerves. And that is a powerful impact on eliminating pain, particularly sciatic pain. A few months ago, I had some pretty bad sciatic pain and I was in my bedroom, and I very easily could have walked into my living room and gotten on my Soaky bed, which contains the 3 hot houses and a chi machine. And I know those pieces of equipment work for sciatica. I've used them before, but since I was in my room and the pain was so much, and to describe the pain, it was in the back where my sciatica is, and it wrapped around my hip, went down through the groin, through the thigh, down into the knee, through the shin, and through the ankle. Extremely, extremely painful. Well, since I was in my bedroom and my e-power was right there by my bed, I just went to bed and wrapped the e-power around my waist. And I'm not kidding, within 5 minutes that pain was gone. I could literally feel not only my muscles relaxing, but this is going to sound crazy. It was almost like I could feel something happening internally that was causing those muscles to relax. Well, it's working on relaxing the nerves. And also, negative ions help to promote healthy growth levels. Well, how do we know that there really is value to negative ions? How do we know they promote such positive physiological effects? What research exists? The beneficial effects of negative ions have been known for over 100 years. Back in 1910, a Japanese medical study linked an increase in asthma and arthritis symptoms to fluctuation in weather, in which they found high levels of positive ions. In 1975, a Japanese medical clinic published results of their negative ion therapy results. They found negative ion therapy to be effective in treating high blood pressure, eliminating pain and irritations of rheumatoid arthritis, gout, and tinnitus. And for those that don't know what tinnitus is, that's ringing in the ears. They also found that negative ion therapy was effective in helping disorders of the nervous, respiratory, and digestive systems, and in balancing thyroid and skin disorders. Lastly, they found negative ion therapy to increase recovery from illness and to slow premature aging. Another clinic in Japan claims to have actually cured more than half of its Alzheimer's patients simply by using negative ion therapy. A study done by a medical team at Shinshu University in Japan found that negative ion therapy healed damaged cells in mice. Dr. Tsubushi, a medical professor at Tokyo Metropolitan University, and he is also someone who specializes in sports medicine. He's done years of research, and he conducted many of his own negative ion therapy experiments. His findings were published back in 2000 in the Japanese Scientific Journal. He found from his own research that negative ion therapy used after exercise works quickly to normalize blood pressure, reduce serum serotonin levels, and to accelerate recovery time from exhaustion. Studies done in Calgary, Alberta, and Southern California back in 1996 also linked what's happening in the atmosphere to possibly being a trigger for asthma attacks, like we talked back in 1910 from that Japanese medical study. But in this study in 1996, they linked winds that were high in positive ions to increase incidences of asthma attacks. Research done at Pennsylvania's Graduate Hospital and Frankfurt Hospital in Philadelphia found that with the use of negative ion therapy, 63% of patients suffering from hay fever or bronchial asthma reported partial or total relief with negative ion therapy. That is pretty phenomenal, especially for any of you who struggle with hay fever or just difficulty breathing in general. A study done by Oxford University statisticians found that people who purchased negative ion generators for the purpose of helping them with asthma, bronchitis, and or hay fever found that they had excellent results of improved conditions. And some people that they interviewed actually claimed that the negative ion therapy cured them. The Department of Biopsychology at New York State Psychiatric Institute found the treatment of seasonal affective disorder to be highly successful with using negative ion therapy. After 3 weeks of negative ion therapy, subjects' post-treatment improvement results showed an increase of 47.9%. There are also a number of USDA studies showing the value of negative ion therapy. To summarize these studies, they found that negative ions reduce transmission of salmonella between baby chicks by 98%, and it reduced salmonella in the air samples by 95%. They found that negative ions can directly kill airborne microbial organisms. I don't know, but I think that is absolutely fascinating. In 2004, a USDA study found that negative ions were able to kill 99.5 to 99.9% of bacterial pathogens and spores. Now, a lot of disease is carried by dust, particularly in turkey hatcheries. The Agricultural Resource Service, or Research Service, of the USDA found that negative ions can remove dust in hatcheries anywhere from 81 to 92%. Ladies and gentlemen, this research is out there and it's very easy to find. I'm going to be just briefly addressing the next few studies, mostly to show you that there is such huge value in negative ion therapy. I want you to know confidently that your e-power will work. I already know it works because I have experience with it, and I work with people who have incredible experiences with it every day. So I want you to know the research behind why your e-power works. In the Journal of Personal Hygiene, they reported a 98% decrease in just 2 weeks of bacteria in burn and plastic surgery units. Well, we all know that this can be an incredible impact for fast healing. The Journal of Applied Microbiology reported a 40% decrease in airborne viruses in the presence of negative ions. What a great alternative way to keep ourselves healthy. If your body is producing too much serotonin, it can cause migraine headaches, fatigue, and sleep issues. Negative ions help to regulate serotonin production, thus decreasing migraines and fatigue while promoting sound sleep. A study done at Columbia University found that using negative ion therapy was more effective than antidepressants such as Prozac and Zoloft. There are so many more studies out there showing the benefits of negative ion therapy. The last two studies I'm going to talk about very simply. In summary, negative ion therapy was found to be beneficial in promoting mental performance and concentration. And lastly, the effects of negative ion therapy that negative ion therapy has on improving physical performance prompted the installation of negative ion generators in Russian locker rooms and resting places for Russian athletes. Many of the studies I highlighted today use negative ion generators in the air. Clearly, the research backs up their value. However, I want you to keep this in mind. In terms of your health, only 15% of negative ions are inhaled and absorbed through our lungs, whereas 85% of negative ions are absorbed through our skin. And that is why the e-power is indeed so powerful. The e-power is an incredible tool at impacting your health because you have direct contact in absorbing negative ions via contact with the e-power belt. Now I'm going to very quickly here address some of the amazing benefits of negative ions as they pertain to the e-power. By increasing our electrical potential, or cell membrane voltage, we increase our cellular energy, thus increasing our body's energy. We literally increase the vitality of our cells and their functions. Increasing our electrical potential triggers the regeneration of nerves, improves oxygen levels because your cells can absorb more oxygen and absorb it better, and that in turn helps to pH balance our bodies. The e-power improves blood circulation, which increases our oxygen utilization by up to 30%. It helps to lower blood pressure and improve nutrient supply and utilization by our cells. Increasing blood circulation accelerates the healing of wounds, improves physical performance in sports, and promotes clearer mental performance, concentration, and focus. The e-power helps to release calcium by increasing metabolism and cell division. The e-power balances stress-causing hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. It balances insulin receptors, thereby helping to decrease blood sugars. I hope my diabetics are listening to that. And the e-power improves nerve function. Negative ions via the e-power help to boost the immune system by stimulating macrophage and T-cell activity. The e-power plays a direct and successful role when used for back, muscle, and spinal column therapy. The e-power can actually trigger the spleen and bone marrow to increase calcium, which increases bone tissue, making stronger bones and leading to a decrease in osteoporosis. And I told you about my friend who broke her foot. Well, this is the specific reason right here why she was able to heal that foot up so quickly with her e-power. The e-power helps to shorten recovery time, and it reduces inflammation and strengthens muscles, bones, tendons, and ligaments. It's used to help reduce the risk of injury by regenerating injured cells. My friend Susie's husband Joe was on a ladder about 9 feet in the air and he fell onto a case of pop and he hit his thigh. And Susie said that he would walk like he was a war victim. She said that he would grab his leg and have to drag it forward. Well, he refused to go in and get checked out to see if there was any breakages, and the only piece of equipment that Susie had left for her therapy devices was her e-power because she had rented all her other stuff out. So her husband used the e-power for 15 minutes early that evening, and then another 15 minutes before bed. And then that following morning, I believe he used it for another 15 minutes. He did not so much as have a bruise on his leg, and he was able to walk comfortably. If that's not an incredible story on the way that the e-power can get your body what it needs to heal itself, then I don't know what is. Let's talk about pain relief a little bit. This is an incredible side effect of e-power, and I've already shared a little bit in my story about having sciatic pain, but what happens is the e-power interrupts the pain stimulus to the brain, and it helps to relieve muscle cramps, tension, and spasms. Now think about all the different autoimmune diseases that wreak havoc on the muscles. What an impact the e-power makes! The e-power helps to improve the function of the stomach and intestines by increasing digestion and metabolism. And finally, the e-power increases activity of fibroblasts, which can trigger an increase in the activity of connective tissues, which all work to increase collagen. And we know that collagen is that wonderful protein that gives our skin a firm, supported, and youthful structure. E-power helps in the same manner to increase nerve and skin regeneration. So if ever there was a fountain of youth, I'd say e-power is it. Well, I know you are excited as I am about HTE's e-power. Here's the deal. No matter how healthy you are, no matter what precautions you take, no matter what healthy things you are doing, you cannot avoid positive ions, or the bad guys, because they are in our environment. There's nothing we can do about that. But you can, however, increase your body's electrical potential with negative ions through the use of HTE's e-power. Really, the choice is yours. If you do nothing, you can expect illness and premature aging. But with the e-power, you are increasing negative ions in your body directly, thus improving your immune system, increasing your energy, shortening your recovery time, eliminating any number of chronic symptoms. You can improve your digestion and cause people to ask you, why is it that you look younger? Believe me, it happened to me in less than a week. Well, that's going to wrap up our presentation for the day. Again, I've told you in the other videos, if you are interested in ordering an e-power or have any questions on it, I would ask that you get back in contact with the person that showed you this video. If it wasn't one of my team members directly, then I'm the person you contact because it was probably myself or my husband Jeremiah that directed you to this video. So feel free to give me a call. By phone is by far the best way to reach me. Otherwise, email works too. I'd be glad to answer your questions and show you what the specials are. And just as a reminder, with all the pieces of equipment that HTE offers, my team members and I have a really great opportunity to offer you a better special than maybe even what the company's current special is. And that is because we attend a lot of company trainings. And because we do that, a lot of times we're able to sweeten those specials, the deal of the special, even a little bit more. So make sure you get back in contact with us, and we are looking forward to hearing from you and answering your questions. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.